Consistency wins every time, over motivation, over anything else.
Everybody gets tired. Yeah, this is a story of sheer commitment. The definition of wisdom. A young king trying to build a kingdom. Can't penetrate with criticism. When I talk like this, it's like hypnotism. Forget this roadman thing, I've seen a prison.
Now, I'm sure you've heard over the internet, in the self-improvement space, in the business space, that consistency is key. What does consistency actually mean? Well, we can boil it down into three main starting points in order to actually be consistent. Now, I'm someone who is overwhelmingly inconsistent, and I have been all my life, and that's been the main factor for setting me back. I sometimes do something really well for a week, and then I fall off. And it's simply because I'm trying to go from 0 to 100. You know, it's like trying to go into the gym for the first time and land a muscle up or bench 80 kg. You know, you're just not going to do that on your first day, and you know you're not. And if you try and keep doing that for a full week straight, you're then going to fall off and you're going to stop. Okay? What you need to do is boil it down into easy starting points. So, you know, you go in and you start benching the bar, or you go in and you start by doing Australian rows. So, how can we boil that down? Well, one of the main key factors to being consistent is waking up consistently early. Now, I know a lot of people say this, but why does this matter? This matters because it means you can get a little bit of a jump on the day, and you have this time to yourself, particularly if you do work or you do have school, or this morning time is very important. It's also when you can be the most productive because you haven't made that many decisions in the day yet, so there's no decision fatigue. The evenings, or at the end of the day after you've done what else you need to do, are a lot harder. Now, like I say, you want to make this easy. So instead of setting your alarm for 5 in the morning tomorrow, even though you constantly wake up at 11 or midday or even 2 p.m, instead what we want to do is just bring it back an hour each day until you're at that 5 a.m. point. So tomorrow, if you're waking up constantly in midday, you want to set your alarm for 11. If you're constantly waking up at 11, you want to set your alarm for 10. Ease it back until you're waking up at 5, and then every day after that, once you've reached your desired point, is you're waking up at 5. Consistency. But then you also need to make sure you're in bed an hour earlier. So as your alarm set an hour earlier, you're in bed an hour earlier, because make sure you get at least that 6 to 8 hours so that you're firing on all cylinders. The second piece to staying consistent is set 3 goals that you can do each week, ideally with a deadline within the week, that actually takes you further towards your goals. So if you want to be in really great shape, then you want to set aside, maybe Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday, you do 10 minutes of working out, maybe even 5 minutes of working out. But you've done it 3 times that week, even for a small amount of time, you're starting to build that consistency habit. And then we can add more days, add more time as the weeks go on. The same with if you've got business. Perhaps you set 1 day a week where you put out a bit of content if your business is online like mine. Say that's a Tuesday. Okay, so you want to aim for 1 video going out on a Tuesday. It can be 2 seconds long, but you want to consistently do that each week, and then you can make the videos longer, make the videos better, make the content better, add more days. If your goal is to become a pro footballer, then what you want to do is sign up to those amateur football clubs and make sure you're at least attending training once on a Sunday initially. Every week, once on a Sunday, just for that little bit, just for that hour, half an hour, however long it is, slowly build up. You need to be able to trust yourself. So you don't want to set the bar too high. If you go, oh, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to launch a business, make content every day, every week, or I'm going to become a footballer, I'm going to train every morning, I'm going to be at the clubs every weekend. What you're going to do is you're going to set the bar too high. When you don't reach that bar, you're going to fail, and you're going to fall back into the old version of yourself and possibly be a little bit bitter that you've fallen because you've let yourself down. You need to be able to set goals that don't allow yourself to let yourself down, because they're easy to maintain and you build upon them as they become ingrained in your habits. Really, it takes 2 weeks to build a habit. So that's what I mean. If you can spend the first 2 weeks doing small little versions of what the big overarching vision is that you want for yourself, then you're going to slowly build up to it. Do you know what I mean? In a year's time, 2 years' time, 3 years' time, you're going to be so much further and probably have achieved a lot of those things because you've managed to do it consistently over a long period of time. It's who you are now. So boil them down into the simplest of points. And the next part about being consistent is simply be action orientated. You need to develop it in your mind that when you have an idea, you do it, you execute on it. What you don't do is think for too long. You see, I had an idea for this video 10 minutes ago, and there were two thoughts in my head. Either I record it now before I go to work, or I do it later. Now that do it later thing, when I get back home from work, I'm not gonna wanna record this video. Okay? And that means this video probably won't get made. And that means I also lack on my consistency. Okay, so become action orientated. When you have the idea or the inspiration strikes, act. And then you can build upon being action orientated with these small goals that you've set for yourself that push you in the right direction until you can build upon your goals. And you're still action orientated, so you're still working on them. But they're not hard because you've made them easy, you've lowered the bar. And then we can start to raise the bar as you get better and better and better at sticking to what it is exactly that you need to be doing to get yourself to where you want to be. Now I know it sounds simple, but honestly, it is. And every time you fail, don't beat yourself up, don't go into self-loathing, bring the bar lower. And keep lowering the bar until you find a routine that you can stick with. So consistently waking up at 6. Doing 2 or 3 of the good habits that you want to implement into your life 2 or 3 times a week. And even if that's too difficult, lower it again, wake up at 8. Do the consistent habits that get you towards your goals at least once a week. Every Monday you do a certain thing. Monday is your training day. Just keep lowering that bar until you find a level where you can be consistent all the time. And after a couple of weeks, 2 weeks to build a habit, remember? After a couple of weeks, if you've lowered the bar low enough that you can be consistent, then you've started to build the foundation of a character that you can trust and a version of yourself that you can trust. And then you can slowly raise that bar. You train for half an hour longer. You add an extra training day into the week. And then you see if you can maintain that for another 2 weeks. And you go again. You wake up a bit earlier. You see? Until you develop that routine that gets you where you need to be. Honestly, don't think in terms of weeks or months. It's easy to do that. Think in terms of where I'm going to be 2 years from now and how can I start getting there today with small increments. I hope this has helped you. It's certainly helped me. Lowering that bar is the entire reason that I've started to do what I do today with business and content and all sorts and fitness. So start small, build up, and I'll see you at the top. Good luck.